Come on a quick tour of almost 30 years of my journaling. Okay, I had to get out my artificial lighting. I think it's way too bright, but if I'm going to get this done tonight, which I told myself I would do, I need to use it. I have a shirt with no spots, thankfully. That was really embarrassing. And I'm going to start this video by showing you one of my favorite journal forms. And the name of this is something like the 16-page amazing miracle journal that was designed, as far as I know, by Tisha Moore. And I will put in the comments the link to how to make this journal. This type of journal is made with one sheet of 22 by 30 watercolor paper. And it's really neat. It has these fold outs. And it is really one of my favorite journal forms. I've used it for just like random sketches of sausage and onion that I was cooking to make pasta sauce, some watercolors, a sketch of, not as cute as he really is, but this is The Monk with a Camera, which is a great documentary on Netflix. And the monk with a camera is named Nicholas Vreeland, and I like him so much that I drew him. And I have a lot of these. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I have 5 or 6 more bound together in this book. So I would recommend, if you want to use watercolor paper and you would like to try to bind a journal, to use this form. I love it. I always go back to this form. And I've used these for, this is 2016. And this one, this was about 2009. So I've used this form a lot. It's a really good form. And like I said, I will give the link, the YouTube link of how to make this journal in the comments. Let's see what else. Okay. This journal kind of stands alone because it's got an open spine, which means that it opens flat, but it's before I learned how to do Coptic binding. But it is the size journal that I like the best. See, look at how bright that is. Anyway, this is the same size that I use to make my zine. It is 8.5 by 14 legal paper that I fold in half. And this is my favorite size to work in. I like it because it's almost square. And this journal is interesting because I put a lot of fold outs in it. I took, well, like here. After I watched Mad Men, a little fold out of Don Draper. I had a dream that Don Draper was in, and I wrote about it here. And I just chose pages from books that I thought were interesting. Too bright. Made fold outs. So basically, it's kind of neat how you can hide stuff behind that. And that is kind of the transitional form to the type of journal that I use the most today. Okay, I moved the light, so hopefully it's not going to be quite as glary when I show you white pages. And I am going a little bit further back into the past. Remember, I told you that I could not do chronological all that well. But this journal that I made back in 1992 is probably the first hint of the kind of work that I do most of the time in my journal now. Right here is some thought about, well, you would almost think I was kind of Jordan Peterson mythological, the way I thought about the Bible at that time. And this was before I had published my first zine, and I was thinking about publishing another zine that never came to be. But this is some commentary here that eventually helped me launch my zine called Back to the Garden, which had exactly 2 issues. But this is kind of more of a scrapbook. See, I've got pictures, drawing by my friend Carrie. Oh, oops, darn it. I drew this pin that I have that I used to wear when I worked at the art store in Pasadena, and I wore it on my waistband of my skirts, and it jingled, and everybody knew when I was coming because I was jingling. And there is also this is the original questionnaire, or part of it, that I put out there for women to answer in the Pasadena, California area back in 1992 or whenever this was, when I thought I wanted to make a women's magazine. And I'm really glad that I didn't do that, because I don't think in the long run I really did want to focus on women's issues at all. But at that time I kind of thought that that's what I was supposed to do because I was a woman, so I needed to focus mostly on women. And all of this feels kind of forced to me now, but I do see, as I said, how this is definitely just a little seed of the kind of journaling that I do now. Okay, I have just a few more blasts from the past that I want to show you, or at least tell you about. In 1992, almost exactly where we are now, I was really into dating my journals with the Jewish date. So October 30th, 1992 was 3 Heshvan 5753. So if you are an Orthodox Jew, you believe, I suppose, that 5753 was dated from the creation of the world. So that's kind of interesting. And then when I found out that I was pregnant in 1992, just a few months after that, I had this black, one of these, just black journals you can find at any bookstore. And this is really glary. How can I? But I had got this picture of this pregnant woman, and I never looked this angelic when I was pregnant, but I started a journal when I was pregnant and wrote exactly, I don't know, about 10 pages in it. So, and I've never gone back and used this journal again, even when I was pregnant, so most of it is empty. And then this is only, oh no, one more thing I want to show you. I was never ever really into tarot cards, but I made 2 tarot cards once, and this is the adversary, and the picture on there is Peter Case. And I was really, really into Peter Case when I was in my early 20s, and I have this piece of paper, loose piece of paper, where I wrote about being at a Peter Case concert in 1992. And then finally, I would like to give a shout out to, this is only one of them, but until the past 5 years, the only journals that I ever completed were prayer journals from when I was a very new Christian. Maybe for the first, 2 or 3 years after I became a Christian, I wrote a lot of prayer journals. And that is, it's nicer to read than a lot of my just kind of miserable ramblings, you know, that are in my other journals. They're really honest, and it's also interesting to see that I would still be praying about some of these same things. I do pray about them, I just don't really keep a prayer journal anymore. But some other things, God may have not thought the things that I needed to change were the things I really did need to change. So I can see a lot of pride and self-righteousness and legalism and also misunderstanding about the Christian faith in these. So it's a really good thing for me to have to look back on, well, on my years as a Christian, which have reached 20 this year. Okay, I'm really not still happy with this lighting, but this is probably the last video that I can do tonight anyway, because I need to go pick my son up from Sears driving school. So anyway, these journals are kind of another transitional form in that this was my first attempt of making journal stuff out of cereal boxes or Cheez-It boxes or any kind of box that you would buy at the store that you can then cover with paper to kind of toughen up and then paint on. And what's kind of neat about these is that I kept all of the, I kept all of the weird, you know, bottoms of the boxes and stuff like that. And then I put them together with these rings. And I also did that with some larger pieces too. So anyway, that is another cool thing that you can do with cereal boxes. And at some future time, I will actually do a demo video where I'll show you how to do something like this, because you can do it in a very short time and it always looks really cool. Okay, I actually put a cream colored sheet over my bright light. So it's not nearly as bright. Hopefully things will be less glary. Because now we're in almost the last section, and this is the Coptic bound period of my journaling. And a few years ago, let me see, in January of 2015, I finally realized that I could go on YouTube and find a tutorial about how to Coptic bind a book, because I was never ever able to understand written directions on how to do it. And I always did want to do it. So I went on YouTube one night and I found a tutorial and I made my first Coptic bound book. I really hate this book. It's made out of cereal boxes, but it has this Zentangle in the front, and I hate Zentangles. And I don't know why. I just can't stand the book. But I have some interesting drawings in here that I did. See, it's still so glary. That I did when my daughter was taking some music lessons, and this is some guy who was sitting at the music lesson. So I remember him, and my kids have drawn in here a few times, but generally I hate this book. But it is important because it's my first Coptic bound book. And that is the only form that I have worked in since that time. And this is one of my favorite ones. It has this front cover that has a hole cut in it. Actually, this was the hole where you could see the pasta through it. And I put a Modigliani painting in there because I love that. And I've got a couple more this size. This is a good purse size journal. This one I took to a Mockingbird conference. And here's one, see, that I never even finished. There is a pigeon on a Cheez-It box. And I never really finished coloring in the stuff that I wanted to on here. And I also have a few books, Coptic bound, that are larger. These are bigger. And these books actually are made with book covers that I took off of old books and actually reuse as book covers. And let's see, I think I'm kind of done showing you guys my journals. I really want to move on to showing you something that would be useful to you. Okay, in the next video, which should probably be out Wednesday, I'm going to get more specific about the kind of things that are likely to show up in my journal on one of these all-day journaling experiences. That is the day that you will also receive a PDF, which will be a few pages, and I'm going to take photos of things in my journals over the years that are usually pretty quick and are the kind of things that are fun to just do in your journal when you have a few minutes. And it'll be a way for you to see the variety of things that can go in your journal and that you will have fun putting in your journal. And in that PDF, I will also have one page that is meant to be cut up, and it will have, I don't know, as many possible things that I can think of to write on there that you can then cut it out and put the pieces in an envelope or a bowl or something. And when you say, oh, I've got 15 minutes to work in my journal, but oh no, I can't think of what to do, you can reach in there and you can pull out one of these strips and you can just do that thing. That way you do not get paralysis by analysis, which is terrible, and I suffer from it really badly. So anyway, I'm going to end here, and I'm going to try to edit this together and get it up tonight. And hopefully on Wednesday you will have the next video that will explain more about the all-day journaling experience. You will have the PDF. And until then, good night.